All right, we are live again. I want to welcome everyone back to Team JadaPay. This is our time. This is where we talk about nonsense, but also credit card processing. And today we have a great show. I'm joined by Mitch, our national sales director from Florida. Mitch, go ahead and just give us a little bit about yourself. What are you doing this weekend, or what'd you do this past weekend? Lead us off, bud.
All right. Welcome everybody. Mitch Davey, National Sales Director with JadaPay. Again, been with the company for about 6-7 years now. Love everything about JadaPay, and just looking forward to connecting with everybody on a regular basis. This weekend, what did I do? I, I watched some football. I looked at a little bit of college, a little bit of pro, went back and forth quite a bit. It's hard to stay focused on one team when you got a divided household, amongst all the teams that we're trying to watch. So I watched some football and, just kind of relax. So I did get in a round of golf to decompress. Yep. Got a round of golf in. I actually did have a call from a merchant while on the golf course. I answered the phone. They wanted to know how to auto batch a machine. And I walked them through the steps because I know my Deja Vu P3 series very well. And they were happy about that. And just tried to, just regroup a little bit. How
That's
about
good, man.
yourself? How about
Golf,
yourself?
same thing. Golf has been kind of taken over a little bit of my life, not in the normal sense. So I'm not good at golf. In fact, I don't even own my own clubs. I guess I do, but it's not the what you would think. I have a set of golf clubs that I picked up from a Goodwill. I have no clue what's in it, and so all I do is I hit in my backyard. But I was hitting so much that I busted a blister on my pinky, created a nice little bloody thing. So what I've been doing is every morning and every night, I try to at least. It's my way of it's my personal yoga, so to speak. I get out there and I hit balls every morning, and then it makes me have to go walk into the woods to go find my balls, come back, put them all out, and then every night I go hit them again, and then I go walk and go get my balls and come back.
Yep, yep. I've talked to you many times when you're doing that. We've had some meetings and some calls, and I just see the nature going through the back. My eyes going out to get the balls again.
That's right. That's right. If it ain't chickens and roosters, it's gonna be the
Yep.
dogs and the golf balls. Although we had a little bit of a raccoon problem for a little bit, but that might be resolved. We'll see. We'll see if they decide to come back, but that's a story for another time. Football. We're week 3 tonight. We have Monday Night Football. I think it's your Lions versus the Ravens. Yeah,
Yeah, I think they're in Baltimore tonight too, right?
I believe
I
so.
think
Yeah,
they're at Baltimore.
both teams still looking stout. Unlike my Cowboys, we can say anything and everything we want because I've heard it all. We lost to the Chicago Bears. It was rough to watch.
And then my wife's team, the Giants, 0-3. I think
No,
they're 0-3 now.
yeah.
That
I
that
mean, at
whole
some point in
division's
time,
kind of
though, that's on her.
what's that?
As I said, at some point in time, that's on her, right? Like you just, there's not a like who walks around saying I'm a Giants fan.
You should see our Amazon shopping cart, giant shirts and this and that, and yeah, okay.
Watik, one of our people, he's a big Giants fan.
Oh, Watika is?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
That is our only victory this year so far for the Cowboys, and it ended up going into
And that was a
overtime.
struggle.
That was a
That y'all had to
struggle.
earn that one. That was a OT, 3 possessions. Nobody could score. So
So tough, so
yeah,
tough. But there is another day. The Giants will play Cowboys again later this year. So maybe your wife, maybe the sun will shine on a dog's butt and give them that ability to go ahead and have a victory against the Dallas Cowboys.
yeah,
Something they haven't seen in like 10 years. So
right, yeah. But on the positive note, the Giants ain't got nowhere else but to go up. they
that's
can
right.
only
That's
they can
right.
only go up from here. So
That is right.
that's it.
Washed up quarterbacks and everything else. So well, today we're excited. We're going to go ahead and start a series on networking. Networking is something that Mitch and I continuously talk about in our internal business meetings. Networking is something that's near and dear to both of our hearts. It is something that in business, if you're in business for yourself, it is crucial to the survivability of any business, to getting new leads, to meeting new people, to building a community of trusted business mentors, advisors, peers. If you're not in networking, you need to join it. But hopefully, after this podcast, you'll see some of the values of that. Like I said, Mitch and I are both coming from a very big, robust networking community. Everything from being a part of the weekly networking groups to the monthly networking groups to just spot dropping in on networking groups. So yeah, Mitch, why don't you go in and jump in and since you've developed kind of a curriculum about this, so you get to guide our conversation today.
Got it. Got it. Thanks, Brian. Yeah. So as Brian mentioned, networking is huge. I've been networking for about 24, 25 years. And each year I get a little something different to take away from it. But the big thing that I've noticed, which has really helped me networking, is breaking it down into a few different areas before the event, during the event, and after the event. But even leading up to the event, before you even go networking, is having the right mindset. And that's, I think, that was our discussion on our last call, team call, was just having the right mindset. A lot of people show up, wanting to make money. That's why we're all in business, to make money, get our bills paid. And their mindset is not quite where it needs to be. A lot of the mindset is me, gimme, gimme, gimme. What can I get out of this? I got to get a sale. But if you have no expectations other than, just like Brian said, developing relationships and connections and just fostering those, they will eventually lead to, referrals and sales. So if you just have a mindset that, what can I bring to this meeting, and how can I create a win-win situation? And if you have your ears and eyes open to what you're observing and the people you're meeting in that networking event, and in the back of your mind the Rolodex of businesses, professionals that you have at your fingertips, whether they're clients, friends that don't use your services for whatever reason or don't need your services, and just try to make those introductions. If you have a non-selfish approach, it's gonna go above and beyond, what any other type of, mindset's gonna, bring you. You can go in there, try to hustle. You might get a sale here or there, but the long term is where the networking's at. And if you don't have the time for the follow up, if you don't have time to really invest in just cultivating those relationships, maybe not networking for you is not appropriate at that time. It takes time to build it, really.
It does. And you brought up something that was kind of probably, I mean, you just hit it right on the head there. Networking is not necessarily about me. There is a component, we call it WIFM. What's in it for me? There is always a WIFM component, no matter what you do. Your time is valuable. But at the end of the day, if you go into it, like what Mitch was saying, this is a giver's gain mentality. You're there for the betterment of the group. It's that whole old tribe mentality. We're building up each other, and that's the whole purpose behind a good networking group, is to help develop and build up each other to be the best that you can be at whatever it is that you do. So the cool thing is you got a group of individuals that get together, and most networking groups operate kind of similarly, but you basically have an individualized seat. So you're not going to be in this networking group with a bunch of other, for our example, for us, we're credit card processing guys. We're not going to be in a group with a bunch of other credit card processing people. The whole point is for us to get to know each other, but also to be able to refer each other. The likelihood of me wanting to refer a competitor, let's just face it, it's slim to none. I mean, there has to be a reason why I would refer a competitor. So make sure that the networking group that you're a part of also has the ability for you to be able to refer business too.
Yeah, absolutely. When you talk about referring, it's not just referring people, but it's referring quality business professionals. You want to make sure that if you give out a referral, that it's quality. You know about the referral. Maybe you've used them before. You know what their testimonials are about. If you refer somebody, you want to look good. You want that referral to deliver. There have been times where I've met business professionals, and I know you, Brian. We've talked about this before. That if I don't know you, and you're part of this networking group, before I refer you, I'm going to get to know, like, and trust you, and make sure that there is value that you bring and you can back up and deliver the quality that, I would expect, for myself. Because the last thing I want to do is look bad giving somebody out a bad referral. And then that's the same with you guys out there as well. No matter what your profession is, if you get referred, follow up, accordingly, reach out to them right away. Don't have them wait a few days. Just make sure that you're doing your job in following up with that referral in a timely fashion. And then you're looking good as the business owner yourself, and whoever referred that person, looks good as well, that everything aligns. So you got to have that quality in place. And I'll take my time before I refer people. And then once I get that, happy, just that trust feeling, then I'm all about it. I'm all about it. And then it's nice to yeah, and then it's nice to be that guy that, or that girl that everybody knows that they can go to. Mitch has a guy, Brian has a guy, and everybody, and it's awesome. Love it.
Yeah, I would agree. Let's start down the journey. You've kind of mapped this out, what it means for the networking group, the leading up to the group, during the group, and after the group. Take us through start to finish, or at least start, and then we'll kind of chat about it, and then we'll move on to the next.
Got it. So there's a couple different networking groups. Brian mentioned that there's networking groups where you're the sole business professional in that chapter. And then there's some networking groups where you could show up and there could be a couple people. So the one that I really enjoy is being the only merchant processor, the only credit card processor. So what I did is, before I found a group or a chapter, that I liked to join, I would visit multiple chapters. You may have a different synergy and a different vibe with other business professionals in the room as far as who they are, how they work, and then also the quality of, the people's got to be one level, but the type of businesses, that's huge. So I know that if I go into a networking group and there's CPAs, accountants, payroll people, professions, those are good because they could turn into what's called, like, referral partners, or just a good referral source back and forth. CPA, accountants, and payroll, they deal with business owners. They're all in the financial space. We're in the financial space. We deal with business owners. So if I'm looking for a chapter to be a part of, if those positions are filled, it could just help create a win-win. If I go to a networking group and the real estate side is just heavily loaded and there's no financial at all, let's say there's a mortgage broker, a real estate commercial broker, there's a handyman, there's, that whole, group of, electricians and service industries, but there's nothing as far as the financial, then I may want to reconsider, joining that chapter. So visit several chapters, feel them out. You want to see who you vibe with, and then what business professionals are there, as far as how you could really create that win-win, and just get that synergy on. So that's my first step, is research the chapters for sure.
And the majority of these chapters, as people are searching, you can get online and look at different websites about where these chapters are at. BNI, Business Networking International, and Networking Act, and NIA. There's so many of them out there that you can look for. You can typically attend 1 to 2 meetings per chapter
Yeah.
before they basically say, okay, now you need to submit an application to be a part of
Yeah.
this. Because
Yeah.
there's a fee for the good ones, right?
Yeah, you know what? Is as far as the good ones, or if you find the value, you may have a chapter that's got very few members, but the quality of the people that are there. But yeah, a lot of them do have those fees, and I think that's great because it kind of weans out the people that might not be as serious. So I think that there's a definitely, a side to be, discussed on, like each side of that. But I like the ones where I pay for my membership. I like the ones where I'm the only merchant processor. And the great things now, especially with technologies, we talked about this on our team call today. If you're in an area where there's not a lot of networking, just, not as a, populated area, Zoom networking, you can network any city, any state, no matter where you're at, which is really huge. So you've got the chapters that have, the one and only business professional, and then there's networking opportunities where it's not closed off to just one person for what you do, but you can have a couple merchant processors or just different business professionals that show up. So there's different types of networking. And then let's look at it from the other side. Let's say that we find a networking event online that we want to go to and attend. You don't need to be a member. You don't have to sign up. You may have to RSVP your spot, But a lot of successful networking is just doing your research, find out who's going to be there. Is this a good fit for you? And then if there are business professionals, if they have a list of people that have signed up, and if you see a business professional in there that you may want to meet that you feel could be a good win-win, do your research, maybe look at their social media, look at their business, check them out online, and just educate yourself so you can have a well geared conversation, and you can just really tap into that synergy that you both can benefit from. But do the research, find out who's going to be there. Another thing is before the event and during the event is show up early. Show up early. I love getting there early. For example, here's a good situation why. You show up to an event, there's 30 business professionals. You're one of the last ones that show up. And we get it, work and driving and stuff, the hours. But if you're one of the last ones that show up, there may be 30 people there that are already involved in conversation. And then it may be hard to approach a business professional that's kind of closed off in a circle of like maybe one or two people, three or four people that are already in a conversation. Then it may be more difficult to, interrupt them to get that going. Unless maybe you might know some people there, then it's more relaxed. You can go introduce yourself to those familiar faces, but, get there early. And then it gives you the ability to also read and watch who's coming into the room. I greet everybody. I love talking to people, meeting as many people as I can, and just have a good conversation, but gear the conversation about them. Don't make it all selfish. Hi, here's my business card. And there's books and videos on, networking etiquette. I think one of them, Brian, maybe you've heard this, is don't give out your business card unless it's asked for. I love learning about other people, asking for their business card. And Zig Ziglar says that response is in kind. If you ask for business card, a lot of times they'll ask for yours. And Zig Ziglar gives the best example. If you've ever been in line at a grocery store, and sometimes you get somebody working the counter, ringing in your groceries. If their attitude is amazing, like, hey, how you doing? Welcome, welcome to whatever. Like, hi, how are you? But if they're like, hi, it's like you didn't want to talk to him. So your energy, reflects the energy that it goes back and forth. So I like to go up and just give the good energy, ask for their business cards. So I'm not coming across as being selfish, and just show a genuine interest in who you're meeting. And that alone is going to go a long way. And then that can start the conversations. But just, show an interest in them, ask questions, and, ask them some of the details. How long have you been doing this? How did you get involved? Did you have any prior uh work history before you got into this industry? What led to the shift or the change? And just show a genuine interest. And people love to talk, they love to share their story. And you can really get a good feel for people as you just let them talk and listen. And yeah, so just don't be selfish. Just ask questions and show an interest in who you're approaching.
And I like what you said about showing up early. I think that's an overlooked mindset shift for a lot of business owners because we're constantly busy. We're constantly on the run. We got to get this. We got to get that. This is the moment. This is your ability to be present. And if you show up early, you're opening yourself up for conversation, not just for the people to walk up to you, but I take it one step further, just the same as you. I like to talk to people. I like talking. It's easy to walk up to people, introduce myself, and just start having that conversation. It's fun. You start, I mean, we're creatures of community. We need one of the biggest mental health solutions of all time is a conversation. We absolutely have to have conversations just to be able to thrive. And so it's nice, even if you're not there to get new business, if just again, just having a good conversation with somebody goes a long way. It does more for individuals than anything.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of people are, believe it or not, are really nervous to go to networking events. Some of them are a little uncomfortable because public speaking is the number two fear in all the world. So I get it. All right, I don't care. I'm going to talk to everybody. But that people are nervous, and if you show up a little bit early, you can kind of break the ice a little bit with the hosts, and it's just a good way to just try to relax a little bit And if you show up early and as people are coming in, you may find somebody that doesn't really, that may feel a little bit nervous as well. They don't know where to go. Go up and make them feel welcome. And they're so appreciative of that. Hey, how are you doing? And just go up. And it's not all about business. It's like, have you ever been here before? I saw you walk in, just want to come up and say hello and, welcome you to the event, introduce myself. And people are nervous, but if you get there a little bit early, it's going to be a lot better than you show up late and everybody's in conversations, or most of them. Then it's going to be really hard to get those conversations started, especially if you're kind of new at it. It's one of those things. The more you do it, the more you're going to understand the flow. You're going to get comfortable, and you're going to find that feeling of calm, to where you can just mingle and just make it successful.
Yeah, and there is a flow. So the majority of these are structured networking events.
Hmm.
So during the event, I mean, each one operates just a tad differently than the others, but they all tend to have a very structured environment. So I know from like the BNI standpoint, there's you all show up, you have your morning notes, your president, your vice president will kind of go over some of the what's happened between the group, how much money, we call it money's been passed. Do you
Yeah.
guys call it something different?
Yeah. Thank you for closed business.
Thank you for closed business. Yeah, so go over how much has been closed, and then you kinda have a number there, and that number could be pretty daunting depending on where you're at in this cycle of the year, especially if you're in the cycle of the year towards the end, and that's whenever you're joining and you see this massive $1,000,000 number, and you're like, "Whoa, whoa, how can I compete with that?" And that's not the point of that. The point of that is to congratulate everyone that's there, to go over, "This is what we've done." And BNI also does the 30-second type commercial thing, or the 60-second, depending on your chapter. And then they basically close out with I'm trying to remember all the steps. I recently switched from BNI to an NIA, but go ahead, continue that for me on that one.
So when it talks about the commercials, there are 30 to 60 seconds depending on how many members. And one of the biggest mistakes that a lot of people that show up, for, since Brian brought up BNI, I'm a member. I've been a BNI member for 25 years now. I'm a huge fan, and a lot of people, when they do their 30 or 60-second commercial, they don't change it. This is your opportunity to share different sides of your business, different things you offer, especially if you have a different ask or a different business shift during different seasons. Summer business might be different than winter or spring or the fall, depending on your industry. For example, if you're up in the Midwest, as far as air conditioning companies, AC, your summer commercial is going to be different than your winter commercial, or it should be. So make sure that you're changing your commercial, because the more information that you can communicate to the other members there, just the more they're going to know the different services that you can offer, the different things that you do. That if you just get stuck in the same routine, then they're not going to know. And another thing, practice your commercial. Don't take these networking events for granted. A lot of people, they'll show up and they'll make comments like, I don't even know what I'm gonna talk about today. Or this is your chance to be in front of 20 to 50 business professionals. If you had the opportunity, and this is one thing I learned years ago when I started networking in BNI, if you had the ability to have a meeting with your elephant, that one business owner that you would love to land, how would you conduct yourself? You'd be there early. You wouldn't show up, eating right away. You would be mingling. You would be talking. You would be rehearsed in your commercial. You would know what your specific ask is, what your commercial is. Treat BNI or a networking group like that's your biggest client, because you never know what relationships can come out of it, who that person might know, who that person might know. And while we're talking about eating, one thing I won't do is, if I go to, this is two sides of this. One, when I was looking for BNI chapters, or if I go substitute, let's say it's an 8 o'clock breakfast chapter, there's usually networking for about 15 minutes before the president gets the meeting underway. And at 8 to 8:15 is the networking. And at 8 o'clock, 8:05, everybody's sitting down, just eating. And some chapters, the president has to, ring the bell, tap the water glass with the spoon to get everyone's attention, to get you to sit down, because everybody's just engaged in networking and talking and shaking hands. And that just shows a real big dynamic of what a couple different chapters can do. You want to walk into a chapter that from 8 to 8:15 is open networking, and everybody's more interested in eating their breakfast than, talking? Or do you want to walk in a room where you're hearing conversations and people are gathered, and it's flowing? So that's huge. And then the other side is, during networking, I don't eat at networking at all until we sit down and we have the structured meeting. I don't want to be eating something and have the opportunity lost where somebody doesn't want to come up to me because I'm eating, or if they do approach me, I've got food in my mouth, or it just, so I pick and choose when I eat at networking events, and that's big. That's big. But you want to find a chapter where people are mingling. And 26% of all my business comes from networking. It's a huge, huge amount.
And that's a good point there. I mean, 26% of business comes from networking. So finding the right chapter is so important. If you're at a chapter that, and that all the people are just there for the numbers, there for breakfast, there for, it doesn't make a lot of sense. So you do have the ability to kind of pick and choose. You don't have to buy into the first networking group that you find. What you want to do is you want to find a group that has people that are passionate about networking, very much similar to what Mitch and I are. Um, out here in Colorado, we started a veterans only chapter, so it's all veteran business owners, and it's started out small, very small, right? Like, so you have to buy into this whole thing too. There's a monetary buy-in, but we've made sure that this is the people that sit at this table, these are active members. We're very much so in control of who joins. It's not just put butts in seats. This is all about putting the right people on the right seats so that way we can all grow together. So take that time to assess those groups. Make sure, I mean, be observant, be a fly on the wall for a little bit. Listen to other people's conversations, because that's the whole point, is so you can kind of observe and hear what's going on. And again, make sure that it's something that kind of coincides with your values, morals, and ethics when it comes to business or personal.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll tell you, I'm going to add to that. When it comes to BNI chapters or networking events where you're the only business professional, I've seen many chapters that take their time, and Brian referenced, quality, to find the good fit to allow them into the chapter. Just because you show up and you pay, $25, visitor fee to check out a chapter, and if you want to put in an application, that doesn't mean that you're going to get accepted. There are chapters that will accept, everybody, and there are some chapters that are more relaxed on, the speed of filling the seat, but trying to get that quality person. They may take their time to interview a couple different people that, within the same industry, and they look for the quality. And when I seen that in a couple of the different chapters that I belong to, that was huge. And granted, I understand that any champion at anything was once a beginner. You've got to start. If you're a new business owner, that doesn't mean don't go networking and stuff like that. But you can be a new business owner, and if you get interviewed, you can definitely demonstrate that you know what you're doing, you know your space, you know the industry. There's nothing wrong with a new business owner at all. We encourage it. That's how you can definitely, get that momentum. But if you're a new business owner, and if you don't really put the time into, or if you're not quite ready to network because you're so new, you don't want that to come across, to the members as well. So just make sure that you're ready. You want to look good. You want to look professional. And I've been to a couple different chapters over the 25 years. I've been in 3 chapters because of, relocating. So nothing negative, nothing bad about the other chapters. But when I relocate, I'm going to do my due diligence. I'm going to learn about the chapter. What does your application process look like? Do you get approval right away, or do you talk to several people? And I just want to make sure it's a quality, because like Brian, like you said, your time is valuable. My time is valuable. I don't want to waste my time and put in something that I don't feel is the right fit for me. I'm not going to waste my time. I want it to be quality.
Yeah, time is so valuable. And if you are new, you have to understand that this is a commitment. If you're new to business, or if you're just new to the networking game, This is a time commitment. There's a little bit of, I mean, you're carving yourself out. If you join a BNI group, you're carving 2 hours minimum out of a given week because it's a weekly commitment, and you have a absentee policy. You can only miss a certain amount of meetings, and so you got to understand, as I call this, the handcuff. You got to handcuff yourself for 52 weeks at this group. And so you need to be ready and fully committed to be able to join that group, but also understand that that time, that group has to also be there to provide for you as well. So that goes back to that 26% of business that you've generated over the last few years has come directly from networking. And that's a big number.
Yeah. Yeah, it's huge. And you mentioned, it's a commitment. And since we're talking about BNI, I'm a BNI member, so I'm going to focus on this a little bit. Whether you join BNI or not, I don't benefit from it. I don't get anything. I'm not trying to, pitch BNI to get a finder's fee. I'm a huge fan. And I'll tell you, there's people that are a huge fan of BNI because they like the structure. That structure may not work for other business professionals. As Brian mentioned, you have to commit every single week. You're allowed basically 6 absences, basically 1 absence a month, but either you have to have a substitute, fill in and read your commercial for you. And if you don't have a substitute, you're allowed like 3 unexcused, and that's it. I like the commitment. I like structure. I like waking up knowing that this is my meeting, this is my day. Plus, it puts me in front of the same business professionals for months and years at a time to really cultivate those relationships. If you just show up trying to get those sales without putting the time into it, networking, you can get a lot more out of it if you understand that it's a time commitment. Some people's schedule may not allow them to show up every week. So maybe a one-off once a month chapter might be better for you. So I'm not to say that my way is the right way. I'm just saying that my way works for me, and I'm very comfortable with the structure of showing up every.
Yeah, and that speaks to it because I switched to NIA simply. I mean, one of the big reasons was the time commitment. Having that weekly commitment was, for me, taking away from some of my abilities to do some of the other stuff that I'm engaged in. I'm a serial entrepreneur, so I've kind of got my hands in a few pots, and so it was just becoming a little bit, from again, time consuming for me. But when I know I need the networking group, I know for me the monthly commitment I can easily do. And so when I switched over to NIA on the monthly side, the costs are relatively the same. Again, if you want a good networking group, you're going to pay for it. It's a seat. It's your seat. You're going to invest in yourself. And if you want to invest in yourself, then definitely look for one that's you got to pay to be a part of, because then everyone else that's paying to be there as well, that time is that much more valuable to each individual. But yeah, find what works for you. I highly recommend, though, that if you are in business, finding one that's active, even if it's a monthly group, make sure that they have weekly meetings outside of the monthly commitment. That's what I ended up doing with this group, is we still have weekly meetings outside of the group. I just do them at Top Golf and enjoy hitting a couple golf balls, but we still get to continue the networking, learning who each other are. It's been fun. And I think that there's, again, just figure out what works best for your schedule. Somebody new, though, somebody that's brand new to networking, I do think that there's a benefit to the weekly commitment. You're still trying to figure out who you are as a business owner. You're trying to figure out your schedule. There's so many different things. And if you can give yourself one little nugget of structure, and this weekly group is a nugget of structure, because no matter what, you will be there every Wednesday at 8 o'clock or whatever the time frame is. That does a lot for a new business owner, because we are constantly thinking about, oh, I should be doing this, that, and the other. Well, guess what? You can't do anything during those meetings. That you are there committed, and you're set. So
And you know what? Let me just throw this out there. One of my biggest pet peeves is to be in a networking event, and like I will substitute at other chapters for other business professionals. It gives me a way to get into another chapter, get my face a little familiar, show up every couple months and substitute for people to just further network and build relationships. And I've gotten so much business from visiting other chapters and substituting, that it just it's the repetition. But one of my biggest things, Brian, is when I'm networking and we're all sitting down there, we're watching the presenter for the day, We're all doing our commercials. Sometimes I will be in a BNI group where so many people are on their phone, texting. Granted, I get work gets in the way, life, family, but when I look down and see people on Facebook and Snapchat, just I'm like, that this is not a chapter I want to be a part of. And there's some chapters that very rare. And if you have to take a call, people will get up politely, respectively, and excuse themselves. But if you go to a chapter and everyone's on their cell phones, that's probably not the chapter for you, because I like to feel personally that the structure from the president that just communicates and runs it for that year where the team is in place, share the importance about being off your phone, give the members your attention, give them the respect. But if I see a bunch of people on their phone, that is not a chapter for me, especially when I was looking for one for myself.
Right.
I saw that a lot.
Yeah, and you will, and I mean, we've become so attached to our phones. I mean, you've anybody that's watched this podcast, we've taken phone calls, on the podcast. It's we have. It's something that you gotta prioritize this time.
Hold on,
This
Brian.
time yeah, exactly, right? So,
Yeah.
how does that make the person that's presenting feel, right?
Yeah.
Like, how like, what I was saying has no value whatsoever, and not only that is, am I gonna walk over to Mitch after the group, and am I gonna wanna actually even talk to you? You showed me that during the meeting when I was speaking, that you didn't have enough just interest in what I was talking about or enough respect to give me the, floor.
And then it's back to that. If this is your biggest elephant, how would you act if you were one on one, the president, founder, CEO of the biggest client you could ever land? Would you take a phone call? Would you hold on? I got to respond to a Facebook post. You're not going to do it. Give the respect of who that networking chapter is. Act like they're your biggest client. Show up on time.
Your biggest elephant might be in that room.
Exactly. Yep.
I
Exactly.
mean, these rooms are filled with some very bright and motivated people. Again, people that invest into themselves, I think, are some of the hardest working people. When you start to understand the value of spending money on yourself, business money on yourself for development, because that's what this is. Yeah, that elephant might be in that room.
Yep. And I'll tell you what, I'm going to share this. One of the biggest business life lessons I ever got was when I became an entrepreneur, started just my business journey outside of being a magician. So my best friend, one of my best friends, I've got, a handful that are just, my brothers, but Stefan, good friend of mine. He is a magician. He turned me on to Zig Ziglar and Anthony Robbins, and I didn't know that these motivational speakers even existed. So Stefan had a 20, I think it was 24 cassette tape series. Yeah, I'm dating myself, cassette tapes of, I think it's called Awaken the Giant Within, by Tony Robbins. So back in the day, I had my boom boxes, and, I'm listening to these cassette tapes, and I had the boom box with the double cassette where you could dub and record, stuff like that. And he gave me a tape. He's like, man, check this out. This is powerful. I'm like, man, I'm hooked. I said, I'm going to go to the store. I'm going to go to Woolworths, Woolworths back in Ohio. And I'm going to buy a bunch of cassette tapes. And I said, give me the Anthony Robbins, 24 cassette tape. And I'm going to dub them all. And I'm going to be, making money and learning business stuff. And I'm like, yeah, go ahead and bring those over. He's like, no. I'm like, what do you mean, no? He says, I ain't giving you my tapes. I'm like, I'm going to give them back. And he's like, well, I ain't going to give them to you. I said, why? He said, Mitch, sit down. We got to talk. And then he explained, he says, these tapes cost me $125. I invested $125 in these tapes. If I invest $125, I'm going to make sure I listen to them. I'm not going to let them sit by the wayside. I'm going to listen to them with, quality, and I'm going to pay attention. If I just give you these, I want you to maximize the quality of the content in these tapes. So I want you to buy them. You're going to buy your own. I'm like, but you're my friend. He's like, Mitch, you're missing the point. So here I'm like, you're my buddy. We do everything together. We hang out. And he taught me a lesson about investing in yourself and how you can get out a lot more for different situations if you're invested somehow. And to this day, I still remember those tapes. And there's other things that I've come across along the way that I've encountered, and then I've shared that with other people. Kind of do the same. Hey, give me that book. I'm like, no, go buy your own. You go buy it. It's $10, buy it. Or if it's $150, buy it. You're gonna make sure you get the value. You want to get your money back for your investment. And
And I think it's important for our viewers to know $125 back in cassette times, that's like $1,000,000. So, I mean, that's a lot of money to somebody back in the cassette date times. I mean, cassette tapes were circa what, 80s? Yeah, like that was the rise and fall of the cassettes because we quickly went into the DVD era.
yep. Oh, it reminds me. Speaking about cassette tapes, I finally paid off my Columbia cassette tape bill. Not 9 cassette tapes for 9 cents. Yeah, how'd that work out for me? Right? I finally paid that off. Yeah.
Hey, hey, that's marketing at its finest. I'm
Yep.
gonna send this postcard to you, and
Yes.
then you're gonna end up getting locked into a payment for the rest of your life, so you can get these subscriptions. I mean, that stuff has been around for how long, and it still works.
Yeah, 40 years later, I finally got out of that. So it worked out. I'll tell you what. Since we're talking about value, we've got a little bit of time left. Um, my past career, I don't know if the people, we got some new listeners. I was a magician for 30 years, traveled Vegas performing. That was my career, and that's how I was actually able to transition into merchant services. In my off days from performing, I would go out door to door, and I would build my merchant service business. I was actually able to retire last May, so over a year ago, I was able to replace a 30-year income with my merchant services and a great company like JadaPay. But one of the life lessons I learned was about your value. So I'm gonna back up a little bit. If know that there is Brian, I'll use you for example. If you know that there's a rock 1 hour away from your house, okay, an hour away, that's got money under it, and like what, like you're wishing upon a genie, there's money, it's free money under a rock. Would you drive an hour round trip, an hour there and an hour back, to go ahead and get that money? So then you got to ask yourself, well, how much is there? Said Brian, if I told you, man, there's $5 under that rock, would you get to go down there and get it? All you got to do is show up, put it in your pocket, and it's yours. You wouldn't do it for $5, right? But you ask somebody who's, like, let's say in high school, that doesn't have a job, or have developed their time to become value, and let's say that it's $50 under there. Would they drive 2 hours round trip? That's $25 an hour. They might. But if I were to if I was to, like you right now, if I said, Brian, $50 under that rock, it's yours, $25 an hour, 2 hours, you got $50, would you do it? You got to think
The
about it.
experience for my son, maybe.
Yeah, but then,
Yeah,
it's like, where's your time valued at? Then you ask yourself, would you do it for $500? Would you do it for $1,000? And then as I progressed with, becoming a better magician, getting better paying gigs, Vegas and stuff, and then merchant services, then your value, it goes up. And you got to ask yourself, what are you valued at? What are you going to invest your time in? What do you need to get out of it? And that's one thing that I learned years ago. Like, as you're starting out, you may drive down to an hour away to get something for $50 for 2 hours, but you know then that $50 doesn't look that attractive anymore.
it doesn't. And the time value of money and the money value of time are two completely different but very similar things. And I've learned over the years where I want to be. I know what my time is worth. It took me a long time to get there, right? Like, so that $5 underneath that rock, that fishing, I mean, just to be able to go and find that, and the experience of it is different from, okay, that's 2 hours there and back. How long is it going to take me to find said rock? So let's just add 30 minutes for incidentals. So I'm at 2.5 hours. And if you look at what you can get done, in 2.5 hours, or what experiences you can have in 2.5 hours. That's what's most important. And the whole time we're talking about this, I kept thinking in my head, I was like, oh, I would go, but I would take my boy just to be able to have that time, with family. And so, and to give him an experience, that's that value, that money value of time to me. I was talking with my neighbor actually, but he's a cop, 27-year cop, and he's trying to start a excavating business. And he's brand new to business, and he's telling me, he goes, "Yeah, I got this job. It's going to be like $400, for the job." And I said, "Okay, let's talk about this a little bit. How how much of that money? How long is this job going to take?" "Oh, it'll probably take me an hour and a half." "Okay, well, how far away is it?" "Oh, it's about an hour away." "Okay, so now you have 2 hours of driving. You have an hour and a half of work. All right, what are you using?" "Well, I gotta, drive it on my truck, my trailer. I got my excavator. Well, I have a leak right now, so I have to put $50 of fluid into it every single time I bring it out." Okay, so the value of this job is quickly going down.
Hmm.
Kind of understand. Do you have insurance? Well, I know I need to get insurance. I'm brand new to this. Okay, so you know that you need a budget for insurance. You need a budget for fuel. You need a budget for incidentals. So this $400 half a day job, while it sounds great to make $800 a day, you're spending almost all of it because you're losing the ability to be able to do this tomorrow, because you just lost all that money to maintenance, repairs, and things like that. To Now, the experience when you're first in business, take everything you can. I told him too. I said the best thing that ever happened to me was the minute I bid. I bid federal contracts and government contracts. I've gotten pretty good at it, and I enjoy it. Well, I'm also not. I'm so good that I'm also really bad. And so recently, I bid out a job. Thought I did my research correctly. Um, I bid the job out at less, just under $20,000. They awarded it to me. So then I had to go and start to source the material, only to find out that the material alone was going to cost me over $90,000. So that understanding, again, going back to it, what I thought I had was a job with $8,000 in profit, and then it turned into a negative experience. So it's easy for me to walk away from that. Obviously, I mean, you don't need to lose $80,000 to walk away from something, but understand your worth. Understand, hey, I'm not going to make I'm not going to make $400, right? Like so, but start somewhere. Make mistakes, then head first, drown, because the only way that you're actually going to learn how to swim is if you're being chased by a shark and you don't know how to swim right now.
Yep. And you said know your worth. You also need to know your industry. I lost a couple magic gigs, for these big corporate trade shows, Vegas, fortune companies and stuff that were looking for a magician to go in front of their booth, do magic, attract the crowd. And I didn't really quite understand the industry. And I would put some bids out there, and I found out that I was not getting a lot of that work because I priced myself too low. And that business owner didn't think that I was good enough or had the value, could deliver the value, because they're used to spending it, X. And this was a new industry for me. And I didn't quite, do my research in the beginning. So, doing your due diligence on the research is also a big component of that as well. Don't discount that at all. Definitely have that in mind.
Yeah, don't, and that's a really good point. It is okay, and I need you guys to hear this. It is okay to make a profit. It is absolutely okay to make a profit. You are not selling to your pocketbook. You're not selling to their pocketbook. You're selling the value. So know your worth. So we've done our networking group. What are we doing after the group? What's our
You know what?
post?
Follow up is key, and I'll tell you that the quicker the follow up, the better. You gather some business cards, you get some names, you email them. 3-4 weeks later, they may have forgotten about you by then. But if you are investing your time to network, invest later on that day or the next day, maybe 2 days max, to do a follow up. It was a pleasure, meeting you. Thanks for the time, and the information that you shared, and don't make your email sound selfish. Again, the just building the relationships, you're going to get, business eventually out of it. But I like to let people know, hey, if you impress me, I'm going to keep your business card. Should I ever be able to have the chance to introduce you, I'm going to introduce you. And if I can ever use your services, I'm going to hold on to your card. And then I do like a quick one sentence at the bottom, attaches my digital business card just to make sure you have my information. Should you ever have questions, I'm here. So I don't make it about me, like, hey, give me your referrals, send me your merchant statement. I want to do an analysis and, try to, sell you and help you. I let them know that, hey, you impressed me. I got your card. I'm going to keep it. And if I can introduce you to anybody in my network, I'm going to try to look out for you. And people are very much appreciative like that. And then you also want to stay connected through your social media. Connect with them through social media. Don't just send them an email. And then you could look at, say, LinkedIn or Facebook, whatever you choose to do. And you may see mutual friends, and that can start up a whole nother conversation. You may have 4 or 5 mutual friends that can lead into, oh, how do you know so and so? I've used them for years, and he's a good guy. How do you guys know each other? And then you can look at their social media to see what business connections or friends that you have in common. But the follow up is huge. If you don't have time to follow up, you're going to lose a lot of value for sure.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. That is probably the number one hurdle that most people have, not just in business and sales and networking. You're carving out time for somebody else, is what you're doing. That's what a follow up is. You're taking away your time and you're giving it to somebody else.
Hmm.
So again, the whole point of this is to build up a group, build up a community. And the best way to show somebody that you are invested into them is to carve out that time, follow up, have the conversation, and just start to build that trust with each other. Ideally, at the end of the day, you guys are, you said you've been with BNI for 20 something years. And ideally, that's what's happening, right? Like you're part of these groups for a very long time because it makes it easy for you to refer somebody you know more about them. I mean, in my mind, networking is about learning people. And so I find it a lot easier for me to say, hey, call this guy. He's the best roofer I know when he actually is the best roofer I know. And why is he the best roofer I know? Well, not just because he's good on a ladder. No, it's because, this dude also gives back to the community. This dude's also, he coaches the high school wrestling team. So there's all kinds of different ways to learn about people, but carving out that time and to be with that person and be the proactive one is huge. I mean, it's huge for sales, it's huge for this.
Yep, absolutely. And if you have clients, I have clients, and if I have the ability, because I'm making money as it's merchant processing, our income. I love it. Our income is a residual, and if I've got a client and I'm making money from them, if I got the ability to introduce, I can't look at you. I'm going to look this way for a minute. So if you got if you got the ability to introduce your client who you've been making money on to somebody that they can make money on, that whole giver's gain is huge. And then, like, I know Brian and we love to do this. A lot of our team members as well. We like to support our own clients. So I have several meetings a week. I like to go to the restaurants who are our merchants. I like to have meetings there. I like to support them, show, hey, I'm not just going to sign you up and forget you, but if I've got the ability to have a luncheon, a dinner, a breakfast with a handful of people, I'm going to go to that business. I want to support you. I want to introduce them to your business, so they're not just making the one off on the purchase for me buying some lunch meeting, but I'm introducing my client to people that may have never been there before. And then they can maybe, go back and go back. And if they like it, if they're impressed. So, supporting your businesses is huge. Supporting your businesses is huge as well.
At the end of every show, I always like to put on a fun hat. I am a man of many hats, and
Yes.
this one actually comes to you guys from my son. Went out fishing with him one year and he loved it so much. He shocked me the one day. Every single time we go fishing, he actually puts this hat on now. So
Right.
I have to like lean in. You guys can read it. I'm sure there'll be plenty of time. I'm not sure what it says. Again, it's been so long since I've actually read it, and I can't read backwards because that's what it looks like on here. So,
Yeah.
but this this was just a fun little thing. I love my boy for doing that to me, but
I
yeah,
love I love the hike.
the hype
You got
is
you got the high profile trucker caps. That's like freaking.
it is the most ridiculous thing.
That's great.
Uh, and the first time he put it on, I mean, every time he puts it on just like this, I just start
Yeah.
cracking up. So once again, I want to thank everyone for joining the show, Team JadaPay. We're going to come to you guys weekly with a new episode. We're not going to always talk credit card processing. We're going to talk business because we have a lot of knowledge here and we have a lot of stuff that we want to share, regardless of whether or not you want to hear it. So if you do join us, start to follow, hit the subscribe, do all those nonsense things. But yeah, so this week you got to hear from Mitch and I about some networking. Definitely jump into it if you haven't done so already. If you haven't joined the group, there's plenty of places online where you can search networking groups near you. You can, I'm sure that if you know any other business owner, they probably are a part of a networking group. So just jump in and do it.
Yep.
Yeah, build yourself up, build the community up.
Absolutely. And if you're in the South Florida area, hit me up. Mitch at jadapay.com is my email. I'll be happy to take you in my group, introduce it to you. That way you can kind of get a feel for what it's about. If you have a chapter in your area, if I can get there, if it's local, I'll be happy to go with, kind of break the ice with you and just introduce it to you. Zig Ziglar said he firmly believes you get anything out of life as long as you help a few others along the way. And if I can help in any way, shape, or form, reach out. It'd be a pleasure.
Perfect. All right, everyone. Until next time,
All right,
Team
guys.
JadaPay, we are out.
See ya.